Declaring a variable allocates memory for it. Putting the and or the ampersand symbol in front of a variable name refers to the actual location or address in memory of the variable. So for example, if we declare an integer variable called num, that's going to allocate some location. So I'll just draw that as a little box. So it's a location somewhere. Now let's say for the sake of argument that that is location 1278. So then the address of the variable num would be that value, so the actual value of the location in memory. Now a pointer variable points to another location. What it really does is it stores the address of another location of a particular type. You declare a pointer variable by putting the little asterisk or star in front of the variable name. So here, for example, I'm declaring two variables. I'm declaring num to be an integer variable, and I'm declaring intptr, so that's short for integer pointer or int pointer, I'll say it, to be a pointer. So by putting the little asterisk here, that's what says it's a pointer to an integer location. So far, what I've done is I've declared two variables, so that allocates memory for them. So num is an integer variable. It can store an integer. Int pointer is an integer pointer variable. It can store the address of a location that stores an integer. So now that we have declared both variables, we can put values in them. So let's draw the little boxes again. So we have declared the variable num, and we have declared the pointer variable int pointer. So we could say, for example, num gets the value of 3, so that stores a 3 in that location. And we could say int pointer gets the value of the address of num. So again, if the address of this location is 1278, then that is what we're storing in int pointer. So we're storing the address of the variable num in the pointer variable int pointer. Now we don't usually know what the actual address is. We don't usually care. So normally, instead of drawing it like this, I'm going to draw an arrow. So for num, again, we don't normally know what the number is here of the location. So for the pointer variable, instead of writing a number in there, I'm just going to draw an arrow. So we say that this pointer variable points to this location. So that's what we say, the pointer variable points to a location, but really what it's doing is it's storing in the location the actual address of the other location, in this case the address of the variable num. Now the dereferencing operator. The value of the pointer variable int pointer is the address of num. If we want to refer to the value in the location that's pointed to by int pointer, we have to use what's called the dereferencing operator, which is the asterisk or the star. You put that in front of the name, asterisk or star int pointer. So let's draw our boxes again. So we have num, which is 3, and we have int pointer, which is pointing to num, really storing the address of num. So again, the value of int pointer is this location. If we want to refer to the value that's stored in that location, we use star int pointer. So star int pointer is the value in the location pointed to by int pointer. And we can assign to that. If we say star int pointer gets the value of 5, then what we're doing is we're putting a 5 in the location pointed to by int pointer. So in other words, we just put 5 into the variable num. Not by referring to num, though, by referring to star int pointer. So again, the value of int pointer is the address or the location. Star int pointer is the value in that location. Now you may have noticed that the star or the asterisk is used for two completely separate reasons, and this can be really confusing. In the declaration, it is what makes a variable a pointer variable. After that, after the variable has been declared, using the star is the dereferencing operator, which is used to refer to the value that's in the location pointed to by the pointer. So some terminology here. The expression num is a direct address and star int pointer is an indirect address. So we have two ways of referring to the location. We have ampersand num, the address of num, and int pointer. Those are both ways of referring to the location of the variable num. And then both num and star int pointer are ways of referring to the value that's stored there. So the value of the variable num. It's possible to initialize a pointer in the declaration. So we could have initialized the pointer variable int pointer to store the address of num in the declaration. Now the way this looks, however, can look very misleading. It almost looks like we're storing the address of num in star int pointer, but that's not what is happening. There are two separate things that are going on here. So first of all, we are declaring int pointer to be an integer pointer. So a pointer, the asterisk is what makes it a pointer variable, to an integer location. So that's the first thing that happens. And then the second thing that happens is we're storing the address of num in the variable int pointer. So not in star int pointer, but in int pointer. So again, the initialization in the declaration looks like this, but it's doing two separate things. First, it's declaring int pointer to be a pointer, and then it's initializing that pointer variable to store the address of num. Okay, what about reading into a location? So here I'm declaring two variables. So I've got a variable num, so that's one location, and I've got int pointer, that's another location, and we're storing in int pointer the address of num, so it points to that location. So I could prompt the user to enter an integer and read into the address of num. So I want the function scanf to store the value in the location of num. So let's say the user types in 14. Okay, so we're storing that 14 in the address of num. We're storing it in that location. Now, if I said enter an integer again, and this time the user enters a 33, and this time I'm saying we're going to store it in int pointers. So that means that following int pointer stores the address of num, so we're putting it in that same location. So again, the address of num and int pointer refer to the same thing, the location of that variable. And by passing the location to the scanf, it's telling the scanf function to put whatever the user has entered into that location. So again, we could say that is either the address of num or int pointer. They both mean the same thing.